Hey, what's going on, guys? Room Gaming here. Back to the video. Today's episode, we'll be taking a quick look at how to play Demonology Warlock for Season 3 Mythic Plus of the War Within. This guide is aimed for beginners only, or people just coming back to Demonology Warlock after a while, and you just kind of need a refresher on how the spec plays. Overall goal of these guides is to get you up to a plus 10 level for a Mythic Plus Keystone. If you're an extremely advanced Warlock player, or you look for an extremely advanced guide, this will not be the video for you. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, a couple prerequisites is, number one, get this imp tracker WCAR. You need some sort of imp tracker to be able to tell when your imps are about to expire. So that's the first WCAR you need. The second one here is going to be the Kalamazi WCAR. That is going to be this sort of UI aspect here that shows your pet timers. Very important to know your pet timers. So I highly recommend to get that. If you're not sure how to import anything from WCARs, you just hit enter/WA. Of course, you have to have the WCARs add-on, so get that first. And then you'll just press the import button and you'll control V this string here, right? You press copy import string, you control V and just press import. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's go over some of the basics of Demo Warlock. So we work off something called a soul shard system. You cast spells and you spin these soul shards on other hard-hitting spells, typically your pets. So this is kind of like your pet summoning resource. That's kind of the way I think about it when I play Demo. And the idea is to build and spend as many soul shards as you possibly can. That's where your damage comes from. And one thing you want to focus on is not over capping on soul shards. It's very easy to do. Especially when you really get your rotation rolling, you can generate these soul shards pretty quickly. So yeah, that's kind of the spill on soul shards. Another thing you need to know about Demo Lock is something called demon stacking. So most of your damage when playing the spec is going to come from your demonic tyrant, and understanding how this works and the windows that you send your pets in is going to be very core to how much damage you could do. So demonic tyrant, 1 minute cooldown. That's really nice. That means in a higher mythic plus, this is up for every single pack. Your demonic tyrant increases the damage of affected demons by 25%. So all the demons that we have out will get buffed by this guy, and that's very important for all your damage windows. So what you want to do is you want to get all your pets out, as many pets as you possibly can, and then go into a demonic tyrant window. That's going to give you maximum damage. Okay, let's talk about some of our pets. So we have our first one that costs 1 soul shard, our summon Charhound. It's a 25-second cooldown. So this guy, this originally is your Valfiend, but through this Mark of Farg here, this turns him into a Charhound. So anywhere that you see something that says your Valfiend will increase damage to whatever, that's basically talking about your Charhound. So your Charhound is going to do a couple things. Through Foul Mouth, he's going to apply something called our Wicked Maw. So he's going to make the target take 20% additional Shadow Flame damage from our spells and ability. And he also applies Shadow Touch. So Wicked Maw causes your target to take 20% additional shadow damage from your demons. So very important pet. He applies a lot of debuffs. We'll kind of go over how to actually utilize him later. We also have our Call Dreadstalkers. They have a spell called a Dread Bite, which makes them do a bunch of AoE damage essentially. And these guys will also apply Wicked Maw just like our Charhound will. Another pet that we have, and this is probably your biggest pet, is on a 2-minute cooldown. He costs 1 soul shard. So is our Grimoire Felguard. So it summons a Felguard who attacks a target for 17 seconds, deals 125% increased damage. And this is a pet that you want to make sure is buffed by your tyrant. So the idea is to get all of those pets out that we just talked about at once, buffed up by that demonic tyrant. And of course, the more imps that you can have out as well, we've not really talked about imps yet, but the more that you can kind of pat the stats there, right? So let's kind of talk about how imps work. So we talked earlier about soul shards. The way that you're going to build these soul shards is through Shadow Bolt. This is going to be your main filler. And the way that you're actually going to summon those imps is through something called Hand of Gul'dan here. So Hand of Gul'dan, it costs 1 to 3 soul shards depending on how many you have. And for each soul shard that you have, you're going to summon 1 imp. So can I show you what that looks like right now? We'll cast a few Shadow Bolts here. We'll build up some soul shards. We'll cast our Hand of Gul'dan. As you can see now, we have 1, 2, 3. We did get a proc here. So we actually have 4 imps out at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. Another thing that just happened as well is our Demonic Core proc. And you can get my pet off passive. And you can see that a Demonic Core proc has happened by these purple bars up here in the top right. The cast time of Demon Bolt is reduced by 100%. So what exactly does that mean? So Demon Bolt is actually going to be another core way that you're going to generate soul shards. And whenever that procs, it's going to be instant cast. It's going to generate 2 soul shards for us. So you can see right now by default it has a 3.4 second cast. This is an extremely slow spell to hard cast. Well, let me see if I can get it to, here we go. So you can see right here, Demon Bolt how long it takes to hard cast. You never want to hard cast a spell. The only time you cast a spell is when you get those Demon Bolt procs. Now, I kind of fat fingered my Power Siphon right there, so I'll show you guys what Power Siphon does. So Power Siphon here on a 30-second cooldown, this is going to give us 2 charges of Demonic Core, which is those instant cast procs, but we have to sacrifice up to 2 Wild Imps to get this. So what I do is on my 1 key right now, I'll press Power Siphon. You can see I got I only had 1 Imp out. If I had 2 Imps out, I got 2 charges of this, but I just got 1 charge of Demonic Core here. And you see now I can cast that instant Demon Bolt. So you can proc Demonic Core through Power Siphon. You can also proc Demonic Core by imploding our imps, which we've not talked about yet either. But each imp that you implode has a chance to proc your Demonic Core. So this can happen 2 ways. Either you implode the imp or they run out of energy completely. And this could stack up to 4 total stacks. So you see I have a whole bunch of imps out right now. I'm going to implode them. And you can see I got 2 stacks of Demonic Core. So when imps disappear, basically, you get stacks of Demonic Core. Okay, let's quickly talk about our Implode spell as well. This is what you're going to be using in AoE scenarios, and it's kind of tricky. You kind of want to use this in a very specific way. And typically, you want to implode. This is where the timers come in, is for implosion. You never want to implode in single target. Basically, what it does is it takes all your active imps and it throws it at the target. Or it throws them at the target, and they explode for a bunch of AoE damage. It does not do very much damage in single target, but you will use this at 2+ targets. So I'll talk about that a little bit more once we get into the rotational stuff. Another thing that just procced here is our Infernal Bolt. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So this is going to be a proc that will happen that will generate a whole bunch of soul shards for you. So it's a 1-second cast. It does a decent amount of damage and gets us 3 soul shards. And that's actually coming from Secrets of the Coven here. And basically, just as we cast our spells, our Shadow Bolt can turn into a very beefed up Infernal Bolt. And then one other proc we need to talk about is with our Hand of Gul'dan, it has a chance to turn into something called Ruination here. This will summon 3 Wild Imps. Those will do a whole bunch of AoE damage, and it shoots a big meteor out of the sky. And this is something else that will just kind of proc randomly for you. So I'll just quickly show you guys what those look like. So notice that our Hand of Gul'dan is on our 3 key here. And then also notice our Shadow Bolt is on our 5 key. And now you can see our Hand of Gul'dan has changed into something called Ruination. So we can cast it, shoots out this big meteor. It does a whole bunch of AoE damage and summons some imps. And then on our 5 key here, you can see that we got a proc of Infernal Bolt. So we'll go ahead and drop our soul shards and we'll Infernal Bolt. And watch our soul shards here. We got 3 for casting that. It did a whole bunch of damage. Then last thing I'm going to talk about here is going to be our Doom spell. So Doom here, whenever we cast our Demon Bolt with that instant cast proc, it's going to put Doom on the target. And when Doom is on the target, it has a long duration. And when this Doom expires, it deals a whole bunch of damage. And we can reduce the duration of this Doom by spending soul shards. So it says after 20 seconds, it deals burst damage. Really, it's going to be closer to like 5 to 10 seconds that Doom is going to prop because we're casting a whole bunch of Hand of Gul'dans. And we're going to get that reduced CDR, or excuse me, we'll get that reduced duration on Doom. So what you want to do is whenever you get a Demonic Core proc, you just kind of want to tab target through different dummies, and you want to make sure you're spreading Doom out to them. Okay, to show you guys what that looks like really quick, we'll Power Siphon, and we'll Demon Bolt this target. You can see he has Doom on him now that's ticking, and then you want to tab target to somebody else to spread Doom to him. And you want to spread Doom out to as many targets as you possibly can, because when this does expire, we'll give it just a couple seconds here. And you'll see that it will do a decent amount of burst damage. And that Doom explosion hits everything around it. So really, really good. Very important to spread that out in Mythic Plus. You'll see like a 5 to 10% damage increase by doing that. Okay, then final thing before we get into the opener is the pet that you will want to be using is our Felguard. Our Felguard gets something called Demonic Strength here, which is really, really good in Mythic Plus. Does a whole bunch of damage in single target and AoE. And this is something that you want to control on your bars. And typically, you just send this with that 1 minute tyrant window, right? This is on 1 minute, your tyrant's on 1 minute, so send them together. Okay, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the opener now. So here's our opener here. So you want to use Power Siphon right off the bat so that we can get some of those Demonic Core charges. That's going to allow us to get 2 Demon Bolts in later in our rotation, right? Or later in our opener. But one thing you'll notice here is that we're having to weave in some Shadow Bolts in between each pet that we summon. And the reason that you want to do this is because you want to get enough shards to be able to summon an exceptional amount of imps after you get these pets out. Because we're summoning our Felguard, we're summoning our Valfiend, we're summoning our Dreadstalkers. And when I say Valfiend, again, that's our Charhound. We're summoning all these pets, and it's very expensive to do that. It costs a lot of soul shards. So you got to be able to weave in some Shadow Bolts in there to be able to get that rotation started. And then you use these Demon Bolts later to cast Hand of Gul'dans to get a big ramp of imps. Now, kind of backing up here a little bit, again, you'll notice that we are summoning multiple pets at once before we go into our Tyrant window. So the Tyrant is all the way down here at step 13. So you want to get that Felguard out, get the Charhound out, get your Dreadstalkers out, and we're building with imps, and then we're going into that big Demonic Tyrant. Now, one thing to note about Demonic Tyrant is it actually extends the timer on your pets. So you notice this note here before your summoned Valfiend expires. So if we go back to Demonic Tyrant, this is something I kind of glossed over earlier, increases the duration of Dreadstalker, Valfiend, Felguard, and up to 10 of your imps by 15 seconds. So what you want to do is you want to get all your pets out, and you want to track it with the timer here. And right before your pets are about to expire, then get that Tyrant out. Right, and then once that Tyrant goes out, then you want to go into a Demonic Strength. And at this point, if you have 6+ imps and you're in an AOE scenario, you can go ahead and implode. And then from here, you're just kind of using filler and things as they come off cooldown. You have to Hand of Gul'dan when you can. You have to Demon Bolt when you get that proc. You have to call Dreadstalkers, when that comes off cooldown. You have to Power Siphon as it comes off cooldown. And then we are simply filling with Shadow Bolt and Hand of Gul'dan. Okay, just to quickly show you what that opener looks like, you will Power Siphon into a Shadow Bolt, into a Felguard, into a Shadow Bolt, into Charhounds, into Shadow Bolt, Dreadstalkers, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demonic Tyrant, and then we'll go into Demonic Strength, and then you can implode from there. That's your typical opener in AoE. And if you go back and watch that again, you'll notice that, I probably could have gotten an extra Hand of Gul'dan in there before we sent out that first Demon Bolt, because we were actually capped on soul shards. So that's kind of a min-max thing that you can work in there. And then you'll notice our timers here. We summoned our Demonic Tyrant when our pets were at about 3 seconds left. So you can min-max that and squeeze out a couple more seconds before you get a Demonic Tyrant out. Again, you probably get one more Hand of Gul'dan in before you get that Tyrant window out. But that's the purpose of this week right here, is to understand your pet timers. So just to show you, I'm not going to do the opener again, but I do want to just kind of show you how the pet timers work. So we can go into our Felguard, Charhounds, into our called Dreadstalkers, and notice our pet timers here. They're at 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, still ticking. And then once this gets to like 3 seconds, we're casting Demonic Tyrant. And you can see we got that extension on all of our timers here. So that's the purpose, again, of holding that Tyrant until the very last second. But of course, don't forget that Demonic Tyrant has a cast time itself. So at about 3 seconds, that's going to be a good time to start casting it. Easier said than done, I will say that, especially in Mythic Plus when things get so hectic. And then another thing to note on that is whenever your Tyrant goes out, that's the time you want to send potions, racials, cooldowns, trinkets, whatever you've got left. When that Tyrant goes out, you want to send everything behind that. Okay, taking a look at our single target priority now. So after your opener goes out, this will be kind of your priority system. So your number one priority is going to be to summon your Demonic Tyrant right before your pets are starting to expire. So that's always going to be your number one priority, is to get that Tyrant out. You want a good strong Tyrant every minute. Your next priorities are just going to be to cycle your pets. You want to try to send them as much as you possibly can together, because we want to fit as much as we possibly can into that Tyrant window. So try to align your Dreadstalkers and your Charhound. You kind of want to send these both at the same time. And you don't want these timers to get too far off, because you're going to get like an awkward situation where your Dreadstalkers are ready in 4 seconds and your Charhound's not ready for like 12 more seconds. So they have very similar cooldowns. So try to send them together, or at least within 5 seconds of each other. That way, when your Tyrant is ready to go, you can send both of these together with your Felguard right before that Tyrant. That might not make much sense, but trust me, it will once you start playing a little bit more Demo Lock. Try to get your timers synced up. From here, you want to cast that Demonic Strength behind that Tyrant window. And you'll notice here, you don't see the word implode anywhere. So on single target, we do not implode our imps. And instead, we're just building with Hand of Gul'dan at 3+ shards. And step 7 here, the reason you want to Hand of Gul'dan when Infernal Bolt procs is because this generates us 3 soul shards. So if you Infernal Bolt at 3 soul shards, you're going to overcap a shard. So you want to Hand of Gul'dan at 2 shards if Infernal Bolt procs. And then from here, it's just simply filler, right? Demon Bolt when it procs, Power Siphon when it procs. Make sure you're not overstacking on Demonic Core procs, and then spend with Hand of Gul'dan and build with more Shadow Bolts. Okay, then for your AOE priority, going to be pretty similar to single target. And actually, I lied. It is extremely similar to your single target. Everything is the exact same. The only thing that's different here is step 8 on your Implosion. So our ramp is still the same, right? Get all your pets out, summon your Tyrant, follow that up with a Demonic Strength, follow that up with Trinkets, Racials, etc. Hand of Gul'dan at 3+ shards and at 2 shards if Infernal Bolt procs, so we don't overcap on soul shards. And then you want to Implode at 2+ targets. I'm not sure if I showed this yet, actually, but the way that Implosion works in AoE is you want to get the most value out of your imps you possibly can. So let's build a little here, and we can take a look at that. So as I'm summoning these imps, you can see there's a couple numbers that are popping up here. I was pressing the wrong button. There's a couple of numbers that are popping up. We have this 1, we have 4s, we got 6s. What does all this mean? So the top number is the timer, and the bottom number is the number of bolts that your imps have left. And you're really not worried about the timer. You're really worried more than anything about the number of bolts that your imps have left. So we've got green, it goes to yellow, 2, and when it goes to red, that means your imp has 1 bolt left and they're about to expire. So that's a good time to implode in AoE. So to give you an example of this, right, we can continue to build. And we'll get a few more imps out. And notice our timers are starting to go red. Right now is a good time to implode because we had 3 red bars there. And the reason you want to implode at the last second is because we want to get the maximum amount of value out of our imps as we possibly can. If you implode too early, you're wasting all those imp charges, essentially, that you could be using for damage. Then yeah, after the implosion, everything else stays the exact same, right? Demon Bolt on Demonic Core procs, Power Siphon if you need more Demonic Core procs, Hand of Gul'dan when you have 3 soul shards, and then finally a Shadow Bolt as filler to build more shards. All right, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to leave a link in the description to some of those weak Rs. You guys can check those out. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.